Thank you to Co-Chairman Smith and to the Commission for inviting me here today to share my expertise and my personal experience on the ongoing crisis and crime of international parental child abduction in Japan. Japan is internationally known as a black hole for child abduction. Many citizens and officials from there have shared with me that they are deeply ashamed of this and need the help from the U.S. and other countries to change it. They ask for continued public foreign pressure as it gives them the support needed internally to uproot the cabal of resistance in Japan. Ambassadors and diplomats from Australia, Canada, France, Hungary, the European Union, Italy, New Zealand, Spain, and the United Kingdom have been on the record about the ongoing crisis of parental kidnappings to Japan. But much of this is years old. Kidnapped children need your help today. From April 1st, 2014 to March 31st, 2016, Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs reported Hague return and access applications from multiple countries, such as Australia, Belarus, Belgium, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Romania, Russia, Slovakia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Thailand, the Republic of Korea, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Now, under Article 21, the central authorities are bound to promote the peaceful enjoyment of access rights and the fulfillment of the conditions to which exercise those rights may be subject. The central authorities shall take steps to remove, as far as possible, all obstacles to the exercise of such rights. The first case that I know of to pursue Hague access in the Japanese courts, Canadian Henrik Teton requested interim access to his children and was ignored by the court. The judge refused to even provide his name, therefore making accountability of his rulings impossible. No observers, including embassy officials, were allowed to witness these court proceedings. 3.5 years ago, at the very moment Japan acceded to the Hague Convention, parents joined Bring Abducted Children Home to hand-deliver 30 Article 21 access applications. Hague was supposed to be an efficient path to see our kidnapped children again. But then we were told we must give Japan time. We must wait and see. Well, we waited and we've seen. Of those 30 cases, 3 parents have reported to seeing their children on Skype 1 time. And 1 parent had Skype access 3 times before the kidnapping parent cut it off. None of these parents have received true, unfettered access. Japan's implementation of the Hague Abduction Convention is an abysmal failure. American father Michael Easley was informed that he would not be able to see his son because his son was going to be confused by the situation. Now, the only thing confusing to his son was why he was kidnapped and removed from his loving father's life. Hague return orders have failed to be enforced from time and time again. Although it states under Article 7, central authorities shall cooperate with each other and promote the cooperation amongst competent authorities in their respective states to secure the prompt return of children. The prompt return of children. It doesn't state the optional return of children. Japan continues to fail miserably here too. Dr. Daniel Willem's daughter was abducted from Germany to Japan in 2015. He filed a motion for return, but was strongly suggested by the Japanese court and the kidnapping parent to withdraw the motion in exchange for visitation. There's been no enforced visitation in this case. In 3 other cases, the enforcement of the return orders failed every time. In Japan, enforcement involves an official going to the home and asking for the child to come out, while the kidnapping parent is inside telling them to stay and holding power over that victimized child. In American James Cook's case, these systematic inabilities to enforce have kept his children from him for more than 2 years. Japan's enforcement is designed to continue to fail. There have been many, many egregious cases from all over the world to Japan. There is Jose Cacho from Spain, separated from his son for years. Emmanuel de Forna from Spain. Shane Clark from the UK. Australians like Paul Brown and Matt Wyman. Franz Pau, a French-Danish national. Canadian cases like the children of Masako Akeo, Bruce Gabetti, and Chris Morris. The volume of cases is challenging to establish, though. But some of the recorded data is available. I'll provide what we do have, but I hope that the OSCE states will share more current figures with each other and also publicly. As of January 2007, there were at least 13 cases of unresolved parental abductions from Australia to Japan. As of December 2009, there were 35 French cases on record. From 2003 to 2009, the United Kingdom had 37 cumulative cases of British nationals being kidnapped to Japan by a parent. And at the end of 2013, there were 38 cases from Canada. There have been more than 400 cases from the United States kidnapped to Japan since 1994. And to date, the government of Japan has not returned a single American child to an American parent. There are numerous clear-cut cases. There's Naval Captain Paul Toland and Paul Wong. Though both of them are the only living parent of their child, the grandparents in Japan are holding their daughters from them. There are cases like Randy Collins, whose ex-wife was ordered to surrender the child's passport to the court. Instead, she kidnapped him. Douglas Berg's children were kidnapped from their habitual and legal residence in the United States in 2009, violating his parental rights to access. Christopher Savoy's ex-wife violated the divorce decree and state and federal statutes when she kidnapped their children. And Marine Corps Sergeant Michael Elias's 2 children were kidnapped to Japan after a court order issued a no travel order. The list is far, far too long. All children and families crushed by Japan's unwillingness to uphold its moral, ethical, and treaty obligations. There are thousands of cases within Japan, too, that must not be forgotten, like the children of Frenchman Jacques Collot, American Patrick McPike, and Canadian Tim Tristigi that could benefit from a unified international pressure. In my own case, I was granted sole custody of my son in the state of Washington in May of 2007. 3 years later, on June 20th, 2010, I dropped Mochi Atomu Imoto Morehouse off to begin a week-long summer break with his mother. He was 6.5 years old. That is where my endless nightmare began. 6 days later, I received a phone call that no parent ever wants to receive. It was the police. They said my ex-wife and son had been reported missing. But I knew immediately what had happened. She had succeeded in what she had planned to do. She had kidnapped him to Japan. At that moment, my life was shattered. I mean, how could this happen to my little boy? I did everything I could to prevent it. There were passport, travel restraints. I got all the court orders I needed to bar her from leaving the state of Washington. The Seattle Consulate of Japan, which I had notified, including all the Japanese consulates, please don't issue a passport. They had denied her. And then a couple months later, she went across the border to the Portland Consulate of Japan. And in violation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs' own policy, they issued her a passport. Now, some people have said to me over the years, at least you know he's safe, he's with his mother. And he may be somewhere in Japan with her. But he's not safe. He's at risk. She has willingly and intentionally kidnapped him to a foreign land with the intent of alienating him from me, his family, and everybody he knows. I mean, imagine being a child and your mother steals you away to a foreign country and then tells you your father doesn't want you anymore or is dead. Your whole life is built on a foundation of lies. This is not what a healthy and nurturing parent does. It is child abuse. In 2014, and again last month, I won a landmark ruling in Japan. The court again declared my U.S. sole custody order is legal in Japan. My ex-wife has no legal custody rights there. And they also cited her own admission of illegal acts of passport fraud and forgery to commit this crime. Yet they refused to reunite Mochi and me. I don't even know where he's being held. The last time I hugged my son, the last time I heard his voice was on Father's Day. Father's Day, 2010. I love you, Mochi. Wherever you are, Mochi, I love you. On behalf of the 68 children listed on the BAC Home website who have been rendered voiceless by their abductors, for my fellow parents of internationally kidnapped children who feel marginalized by the lack of engaged, active, transparent assistance in recovering our loved ones, I implore the OSCE participating states and partners in cooperation to take a strong, unified action toward Japan for its ongoing violation of the spirit and the intent of the Hague Abduction Convention and the intentional denial of human and family rights. And further, in cases like my own where there's a clear custody determination in the US and Japan, the child must be returned home.